This is Mike.
And Christina.
And I don't want to brag or anything, but I'm known as the caretaker.
And I'm the blind chick living.
And we also come with the dumb dog.
Moosey boy.
Yep, and Moose, the Pomsky service dog, is Christina's service
Baby.
dog. And this is the Blind Chick Living podcast. Disclaimer.
We are not doctors. Please do not take any medical advice from us. What works for me might not work for you. Talk to your team.
Yeah, and if you've ever met me, you should really not take my advice unless you talk to your team.
Correct.
So, talk to your team. This is just our opinion. If you don't like it, then tell me yours. Okay, this is Mike.
And Christina.
And this is the Blind Chick Living podcast, and we have not done it in almost over a year.
So, yeah, we ghosted you guys. We're sorry for that. We just got crazy busy.
Yep, but we have made sure that this is a priority. People have talked about it, and they want to hear more of these podcasts. So, I'm giving you what you want. More Michael.
Yeah.
And Christina and Moose. But, all right, so a lot has happened in the last year, so we're just going to kind of go in it, and Christina will throw in just cute stuff and adorable stuff and awesome stuff. So here we go. Last year, about this time, Christina actually experienced some more seizures.
I did.
And do you want to talk about those a little bit?
So it just kind of randomly came out of the blue. I had seizures on...
I can't remember when.
In November.
Mm-hmm.
It was in November, yeah.
It was petrifying. So we are waiting for a doctor appointment or something, and we're both just playing on our phones. And I remember looking over at Christina and asking her a question, and she didn't answer me. And I looked at her, and I'm like, stupidly, I just looked at her, I'm like, so is that what we're doing? Because I figured we were arguing. And
I do get quiet when we argue.
Yeah, and then I hear some breathing that didn't make sense. So I lean over and I tried to get Christina to answer me, and she wasn't answering me. Her eyes were open, but she was just doing this weird breathing thing where she was and it sounded exactly like that. So I jump out of the car because she's not responding. I go over to the other side, and I'm just grabbing her, holding her, trying to get her to talk to me, not knowing that that's what happened yet. And then she had another one. And I remember just grabbing her chin, her head, holding her in my arms, and she's, it's exactly what you see on TV where she's just kind of shaking and her arms are going wild, and I'm just kind of holding her tight so that she doesn't hurt herself. And luckily, we were a block away from the hospital.
Yeah, literally.
So I put her, she stops having the seizures. She starts doing that breathing thing again. I don't really know what that is, other than she wasn't conscious, but I wouldn't say she was coherent. So she was like somewhere in between. And so I slammed the door shut. I book it up to the hospital because, again, we were like literally a block away. And I pull into the emergency, and I grab her. And it was just in one motion where I had her in one arm, and I'm opening the door, and I rush her into the emergency room. And I tell them what happened. They get a stretcher, and they take you back. And while we're back there, they're trying to put IVs in you, and you start coming to.
Oh.
And do you even remember any of this?
No.
Yeah, they tried taking your clothes off so they could put a gown on you.
Okay.
And so she comes coherent to flight. She wanted to flee because she didn't know. Fight or flight. And I'll tell you what, for a small, blonde, adorable chick, she is one strong chick. Because all she knew was a guy was trying to take her dress off. And do you remember the dress? You actually really liked it.
No.
And she loved the dress.
I
You
do
were all
remember the
dressed
dress.
up.
It was a beautiful dress, guys. It was one of my favorites.
And I ripped it right in half.
Black,
and
beautiful.
That was when it was the fight or flight. Because she is wondering what the hell's going on. All she knows is that there's 4 or 5 people around her trying to put an IV in, trying to put a gown on her, and she wanted absolutely nothing to do with it. And she still wasn't coherent, but she was at least moving. She had no idea who I was. I grabbed her face. I'm like, hey, Christina, and I'm freaking out at the same time because, I've got my wife just fighting me off, not knowing who I was.
Yeah,
and
that's crazy. It
was petrifying because until she came to, she had no idea who I was. And I remember we got her calmed down, and I had to go to the bathroom or something. And I left to go to the bathroom, and I made phone calls to let everybody know what was going on. And I come back, and she's doing that breathing thing again. So she had another seizure.
Oh, my gosh.
And so I run and grab the nurses. And the weird thing about seizures is we know, and the doctor kind of explained it to me, they did an MRI, they did some tests, but we know more about the depths of the ocean than we do about the human mind.
I believe that. And
you can ask someone why they had a seizure. You can ask a doctor, but unless it's an obvious thing, and the seizures don't make sense until we let you in on some additional stuff that happened to her.
Yeah.
But
it gets better, guys.
It actually kind of ties into it, and it kind of makes sense. But your body goes in defense mode, and that's why it has a seizure.
So on that day, they had basically concluded that I had a lot of stress in my life, which I did at that time. I had a couple family things going on, and I lost a nephew of mine, and that was taken from us just way too early. And so I did have a lot of stress. So them saying it was probably due to stress actually kind of made sense.
And that's kind of what because we leave, and they didn't give us any medicine because they had no indication of why she had it. So it was all in the mind. And that's pretty much what the doctor said was, well, if she has another, bring her back. And having to leave with your wife that's on dialysis, that has a CBC port.
Was I even coherent at that point?
You were by the time we were leaving. Your parents came up, and you just wanted to get home. You were exhausted, and you could hardly walk because you were so exhausted. And it's because, I can guarantee you, it's because of the fight you put on.
And I don't remember any of that.
And you were sore, and it's because you clenched your muscles when you had those seizures. Wow. And the doctor said she's going to be exhausted for the next couple of days. Not only your mind, but her body too, because the body just...
Did I sleep after that a lot?
You did. You were pretty much out of it, and so we had pretty much around-the-clock care almost for you during that time, just to kind of make sure that you didn't have another one.
Yeah.
And so the cool thing is we have Amazon Echoes. Okay, didn't pop it on. But I'm able to tap in on my phone to whatever echo that she may be at, and I can actually yell through it, hey, so that's a peace of mind because, I do have to still go to work. And she, like I said, she was exhausted. She slept for, I swear, 2 days straight. And I remember going to work, and I'd try calling till finally I'd be able to yell on the echo, and she'd be like, what? I'm like, okay, all right, you're alive, thank you, and go on with the day.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So that was a new one, and we had to actually come home and do dialysis that night, so I'm kind of freaking out at the same time because, okay, what happens if she has a seizure while we're doing dialysis? I mean, because she has a CBC chest port. So, if, you guys know that you don't yank on that thing, because it can come out. So, that was a new added stress on top of everything else that we had. So, a couple months passed by. Everything's kind of normalish.
Kind of normal, just kind of decent.
And then she's always had some gut issues, but they got really bad. And you want to kind of explain that?
Well, yeah, we all know dialysis is not good for your gut in any way, and so I've had gut issues for years now. But I kind of know how to handle them. But it kind of started getting to the point where I could not make anything move.
So we went to the ER, same ER we always go to.
And I was in quite a bit of pain.
So in order to do a CT scan, is it a CT scan?
Yeah.
They have to give you this fluid. And she was in and out of the hospital at this time, going in and out of the ER.
Oh, this was awful, guys.
She was getting an IV, which I'm trying to account for that fluid. And then she's given these 3 cups of this fluid that she has to drink. And it was disgusting, yes?
I don't really remember.
All I know is she hated drinking it, and she's already feeling fluid heavy, and they're asking her to put 32 ounces on her, and they can't do the test until they do that. And so they do the test.
And they put a tube down my throat.
Yeah.
And I am very claustrophobic, and I have a really deviated septum. And I had surgery to fix it, and the surgery didn't work. It just got worse. So I just don't mess with that anymore. But so they stuck this tube up my nose, and I felt like I could not breathe.
And this was a pretty good thick hose.
It went all the way down into my stomach and my upper intestine.
Yep, and it was acting as a vacuum every minute or whatever, and it would suck all of the bile out of a stomach because
all this,
they needed
green stuff.
Because if you can't
get it out
go to
one
the bathroom,
way,
it can actually become toxic, and you can actually die from that as well. So, and if you've ever met Christina, when she's done with something, she's done.
I was a little stubborn.
And we were admitted, or was just the
No, we were admitted.
So we were admitted.
And the nurse came in to check on me, and I am not happy with this tube up my nose. So I told her, hey, either I'm pulling it or you're pulling it. Which one? And
she gave almost a countdown to her and the lady's like, hold on. Nicest nurse. And she was like, okay, well, it's coming up. So they pull it out, and we pretty much get discharged.
Well, I told her, I was like, if there's a balloon in there, then I'll wait for you to take it out. But if there's not, just tell me, and I'll just yank this thing out. And she was freaking out. I feel so bad now, looking back on it. Oh.
And I'm trying to convince her to keep this, but at the same time, I know where Christina is at that point, and there's really no convincing her.
Yeah.
She's a bit stubborn.
I was gone at that moment. But, so, it just so happened that day I had a small bowel movement. And so, I, of course, anytime anything gets a little better, I'm like, yes, I'm healed. Let's go home. And so that's what I did. I told him, hey, I'm good. I want to go home.
And I'm more what would be the term? OCD, where I want an answer of why it's
Things
happening.
Happen.
And I think Christina's done medical so long that, you know what, I feel better, I'm going home.
Yeah, don't look the gift horse in the mouth,
So, of course, we go home, and I want to say we're home for what, a couple hours?
It was overnight. The worst night of my life.
And just miserable pain.
Oh, throwing up. I threw up stuff. I don't know where it came from. I was throwing up across the room type thing, and it just kept coming.
So, and then and remember, we had to do dialysis. So we're doing dialysis, and we didn't even get through a complete treatment.
No.
We clamped off, lynched back, and it was back at the hospital.
Yeah.
So we're back at the hospital. She still didn't have proper dialysis. She had IVs that entire time. She had those 3 drinks she had.
When we went back in, though, so we got the same doctor that we had in the ER just a day 2 before that. And he came in and he scared the crud out of us. He came in and he basically said, listen, I'm putting that tube up your nose. If I don't, you're going to die. We're already behind the 8 ball here, and I don't know if I'm even going to be able to fix what's going on.
Well, and on top of that, too, you had to drink that CT fluid again. So not only all of this is happening again, she has to drink another 32 ounces of fluid. So...
yeah, so that packed more fluid on. Sadly, I'm sitting there awake, and the tube goes back in my nose again.
And what medicine... What medicine did we make sure we had?
I know exactly which one. So, I just couldn't handle that nose being up, that tube being in my nose, and I knew I couldn't. So I told him the only way I'll do it is if you give me Ativan.
Ativan, that's right.
And so I made them give me Ativan every 5 hours.
Yep, and I had a time on my watch where when 30 minutes was coming close, because anybody that's been in the hospital knows that
it takes
if
forever.
It's time, especially if it's that 5 a.m. dose or 4 a.m. dose, that it's going to take probably about an hour to get it. You know, you hope that they're on top of it, but so I would set an alarm an hour beforehand saying, hey, let's get this ready. And so we did 15 days of this?
Yes.
And the thing with Christina is she's a complicated case. She's had 2 transplants.
I've got abdominal
adhesion. She's had parathyroid. I mean, you name surgeries, and she's probably had it. Mm-hmm. So every doctor is looking at it, and they can't see anything that
they did come back and say the final CT scan came back with an abnormality. There was actually there was something lodged in the intestines, like a mass. But they had no idea what the mass was. And nobody wanted to go in there and do surgery. It was kind of one of those moments where a doctor shows up for a day and they're like, oh, well, I'm going to send so-and-so because I think they can figure this out. And then you get a new doctor the next day, and they were just pushing it back. And that's why it ended up being 15 days of me taking Ativan.
Because everybody was kind of passing the buck. And they were like, we're not going in. We're not going in. Till finally...
Dr. Parr. He's my vascular surgeon. A vascular surgeon comes in, and he looks at him and he's like, oh, my God, you're miserable. And he told me, he said, listen, nobody wants to touch you. He goes, I'm willing to try if you're willing to let me. And I said, okay, let's do it. Let's do it now.
So they get her in for surgery. And best they could explain it is...
he was able to go in and get a chunk of whatever this mass is. He broke off a chunk and was able to pull that out. But by getting that, he knew that it was a solid obstruction.
This wasn't just some mass on that they thought it was going to be. It was a rock hard, solid thing.
Rock. Yeah, something.
So I remember him coming out, telling me what's going on. Him and the
very first
Dr. Dreamy.
The Dr. McDreamy. He was the ER doctor. The one we saw when we first went in.
They both come in and they're like, we have no idea what this is. We sent it off to get tested.
By the way, his name is Dr. Limke.
Okay. We called him Dr. McDreamy because...
he's pretty dreamy.
Yeah, I'm a guy, and he took my breath away every time he walked in the room. They both come in. They kind of explain what's going on. They're like, we have no idea what this is. We may have to take your intestines out. They were giving me worst case scenarios, and
colostomy bag.
Basically, that this is serious. And I'm like, okay, go do what you got to do. And
they actually, so after that surgery, I went back to the room because I remember Dr. Limke coming in and he said, he basically told us all that stuff. And he said, I'm going to think this overnight. He goes, I'm going to take a night, think about this, and kind of decide if this is something I can handle or if I'm sending you to a different hospital.
And that's right. And then the next day he said, I'm not giving any promises. I'm going in, but
I might just open you up and not know what to do with it and just close you right back up.
And so we were kind of just, okay.
And we kind
anything
of, at
would
this point,
be better than nothing.
At this point, I was so ill that we kind of were at the point where we were talking about this might be it.
Yeah. And that...
And I think with all the doctors kind of pushing us around, the fear of that surgery just kept getting heightened. And so the kind of the mental...
I know we were debating, okay, do we go to another hospital? Do we, you know... And so she's already in the hospital for 12 days by this time, 10 days.
At least.
With the tube up her nose, sucking the bile out, having to do dialysis at the hospital, which was brutal on her.
It was not working.
And so she was ending treatment almost early every single time. She would have panic attacks during it. And finally, we convinced them to bring the machine in the room. But so, anyways, Dr. McDreamy gets in there. And
first thing in the morning, and he says, hey, let's just go do this. Yep. And we did it right then.
And I remember him coming out. And he looks at me and goes, I can't, and he said the F word, I can't effing believe it. And I'm like, what? So he draws me this picture, and he's like, I have never experienced this before, and I don't think we will ever experience this again. But apparently, her appendix burst. And when her appendix burst, it's supposed to be one of the worst pains that you ever experience. But, so, and this is where kind of the seizures tie in, where we kind of time stuff. And so she had to be on antibiotics for a specific amount of time. Her appendix burst.
When it burst, yeah.
And since she's had all of her surgeries, it kind of damned all of that bile and all that poison that
and my
from your
abdominal
appendix.
Adhesion kind of stuck around all the toxic fluid.
And all because she was on antibiotics at a certain time, it burst, it contained it all. Her body
cleaned
the
it was sterile
appendix.
By the time.
When they tested it, it was sterile. And he draws me the picture, and he's like, the way it sat was exactly perfect of all of the intestines and all this stuff. And he's like, this will never happen again.
And he was saying that basically my intestines had closed around this. So my intestines were all knotted up. And that's why I was having so much pain. And so he had to literally cut some intestine away, right? Mm-hmm. And he said there was one where he just pushed it and it was all infection.
Yep. And so we had the surgery. It was, in my mind, successful. And it was within the next day or two that we realized, okay, when you had your seizures,
the doctor kind of threw that out, kind of the time frame of what he thought it had been, and we were like, hey, that's when the seizures happen.
Yeah, we're adding stuff together, and like, oh my god, when your appendix burst, that's when you had the seizures. Your body just kind of gave up on itself and was, oh my god.
It's probably in too much pain, so it just...
If she wasn't on the antibiotics for 2 days or something like that beforehand, that she'd be dead. And so she's, again,
so we're starting off that year off right.
Yep. And it's actually kind of cool because I would come visit her all the time in my dinosaur outfit.
Yep.
And we were in the newsletter for the hospital. Because,
remember how many pounds I left up on fluid?
Yep. You left 20 pounds up.
I thought it was 22.
22, 20. And I remember we were fighting with the hospital, being like, we need to go home. And they kept on throwing out, well, you can go ahead, but you'll be non-compliant. I'm like, stop saying non-compliant. We can just do this better at home. She is adding more and more fluid, and nobody believed that we would be able to go home and make this better.
And so we went home, and what? We did dialysis 3 days in a row?
Yeah, we pretty much did dialysis back to back to back and took 22 pounds off her in less than 3 days.
Yep.
So
that's cool.
That is one of the stories.
Okay, what else?
All right, so, but during this time, while she's back having surgery, Alyssa Hicks and
Richard?
Keely. So Alyssa Hicks, well, Keely first has her baby. So I get messages that Keely had her baby. We're like, and I believe she had her baby before you went into surgery, so I was able to tell you that.
Yes, it was before.
And we're like, all right, everything's healthy, everything's great. Keely's doing amazing. And most adorable baby I've ever seen in my life.
So cute.
But as she's back, I hear that Alyssa is having her baby. And Alyssa is what? How many weeks?
She was 27 weeks, I think.
So she was a good 10 weeks.
Her first day of her third trimester.
Yeah. And so that is a petrifying moment. And she had the baby. And
I think he was like 2 pounds, 4 ounces.
2 pounds. I actually wrote it down. So Noah William Hicks was born January 7th, 2023. 2 pounds, 3 ounces. And again, this is 1 day into his third trimester. Madison, the pregnant lady episode. Cute. She had her baby, and it was Madison Akima Tabitha Page. Sorry, I'm probably butchering that name, but most adorable baby. And she had her baby January 11th, so she had it later on. She had her baby January 11th, 2023.
Oh, so she had after. Mm-hmm. So 4 days?
So at 10 p.m., 4 pounds and 6 ounces. Well, it's 6.8 ounces. Yeah.
4 pounds, 8 ounces.
8 ounces. And the great thing about Keely is her baby was preemie, but perfect.
But she was
just this little tiny thing.
And still to this day, she's so little and cute.
And I think I remember Keely, the one messaging me, letting me know that Alyssa was having her baby. And so we were watching that close while Christina was having surgery. And I remember talking to Richard Hicks, the husband, trying to get details of what's going on. And he kind of tells me. And, you can tell he's petrified. But he's also saying, the baby's good.
Yeah.
And I remember just saying, excuse me? And he's like, the baby's good. The baby's on oxygen.
Yep.
It's a preemie, so they're putting it under the lights and all that stuff. But the baby's healthy-ish. As healthy as,
as he can be at that point.
Right. And even beyond that, because a typical 1 day into your third trimester, you're not living past that.
And you're definitely not having a baby that is complete.
So
like Tyler, she had no intestines, and she was born at 30 weeks.
Yeah.
Usually they still have to grow.
And so we're dealing with Christina's stuff. Luckily, Keely's baby is doing amazing. I'm checking in with her all the time, and Keely's awesome.
By the way, Madison and Noah, Aunt Steenie says she loves you.
Yep. So the cool thing about, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, but we actually got to meet Keely and her baby. It was amazing, and we met them in Vegas, and that baby is just adorable.
It's so cute.
But actually, and later on, we actually got to meet Noah and Alyssa and Belle.
And Bella. She is so cute.
And
Bella,
Richard.
Aunt Stina loves you.
Yep, and they were going on vacation to California, and our house was actually halfway. So they were able to come over, spend the night. It was actually kind of cool because Alyssa was doing dialysis downstairs in the basement. At the same time, Christina was doing her dialysis upstairs.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was amazing meeting them because you become best friends, family with a lot of these people, You know, I have a bond with Richard. Of course, Alyssa and Keely and Christina have this bond.
Yep.
And you become family. You become just vested so much.
It's true.
So, all right. So,
anyways,
we're going on and on. All right. So, back to the story. We go home. We get the dialysis off. She starts doing somewhat better.
Yep.
We're still dealing with some issues on that. So, but she's feeling better.
Yeah.
She's doing good. So, and then we get invited to the National Kidney Foundation Summit.
Awesome.
And this is kind of probably too soon after surgery, but we went. And this was the most amazing thing that me and her, I think, experienced at that time. We went to DC. We saw...
It was incredible.
It really was. One, we met just some of our heroes that we've been talking to over a year.
Yep.
There was just so many people. And I had my first fandom moment.
Oh,
there.
he totally did.
Go ahead.
So me and Michael are standing there it's a big conference room and all these tables are set out. This woman starts like hurdling tables. Like she's throwing chairs. She's going over the tables. Runs up to Michael. I'm your biggest fan.
And I'm like, oh, well, thank you so much. And I'm like, do you want to meet Christina? And she actually goes, who? And I'm like, oh my God, I have a super fan. And
yes.
I wish I would remember her name, because I have pictures of her and we did pictures and everything. But it was weird being at this conference, because I knew we had kind of a following. But when you walk in a room and you hear your name called in all these different directions, it's weird.
Very weird.
We met Jim Myers, and I'm gonna leave people out because there's just so many.
There's no way to get everybody.
But Jim was one of those big ones that we met. He helps run my page, and he's
Wonderful.
A hero. He's a saint.
Oh, and keep going.
And then Bobby. Bobby is one of those that we keep in contact with to this day. She actually won this really cool award. I'm going to butcher it, but it was this big, giant, fancy dinner. And This was before I accepted the fact that I'm doing this professional stuff. So I remember we went to this dinner, and I am in shorts and a tank top, and around all these people that are wearing tuxes. And I remember just sitting down with this couple, and anytime Christina talks, she hypnotizes the room. And
okay.
You do. You guys, you have a story on top of a story on top of a story. And if one moment isn't jaw-dropping enough, you then have another one. And that... So you have this table that's just hypnotized. And again, I am around all these people, and I hate to say it, but National Kidney Foundation, have a cheeseburger and fries next time. They have this food, and I know it's this expensive, ritzy stuff.
Fancy.
But I'm redneck. Give me a hot dog or a hamburger, because... Oh, it was so bad. But
he doesn't like anything green in his salad.
That's right. And we had this champagne that I'm sure was way expensive. And I remember just taking a little sip and spitting it back in the cup because it was so bad. But Bobby got this award.
That was cool.
And everybody's being prim and proper, and I'm just yelling, "Yeah, Bobby!" And you've got this bald, tattooed guy.
Guys,
yelling.
I had to sit next to him.
And so we went and we met a whole bunch of senators, their representatives. It was so cool. We went in the basement of all the tunnel systems throughout the Capitol.
So cool.
That was cool. We walked. How many miles did we walk?
I think it was 22 miles.
It was altogether 22 miles. And we walked that night for hours. And we kept going kind of in the wrong direction.
To find
and
the White House.
So we went along that reflection pool, which was being worked on, so that it wasn't filled up. And we walked to the Lincoln Memorial. So we went all the way up to the Lincoln Memorial, saw that, and if you know where the Capitol is, it's in the opposite direction, way past the where all the senators and Supreme Court are and all that stuff. So we had to backtrack all that way, and we get to where you can almost see, well, we're right behind the Capitol.
The White House.
The White House, sorry. And Christina just starts crying. And I'm feeling just so bad because I know she's hurting, but we went 22 miles and we went and talked to all these senators. And then on top of that, we walked, I believe it was 10 miles during the summit and then 11 miles afterward, just exploring. But we've never been there, so every building was just so amazing.
And you just wanted to see everything.
And so Christina just starts bawling. And I look at her and I'm like, well, honey, honey, we can go home. She's like, I just want to see the White House. And I'm like, well, honey, turn around. It's right there. She's like, oh, okay.
Beautiful.
And I'm like, well, we can go home. She's like, no, I want to keep going. So it was just, she was exhausted. She was overworked, and
I wanted to see that White House so bad.
So we walked around to the front. We saw the White House. We had Moose with us. It was really cool.
It was cool.
And then we needed to get food, so we walked.
Hey, but wait, you have to all know we have a running joke now. Anytime I'm pushing myself too much, Mike will be like, "Hey, are we gonna cry behind the White House today?"
Mm-hmm. Because she's stubborn, and she has to take it easy sometimes.
Yeah.
We definitely did not take it easy that day.
No.
So we were hungry, and we were celebrating our anniversary.
Yeah.
So if you don't know, we were married on February 29th. So every 4 years, actually coming up this February, we will actually have our first anniversary. But so I wanted to take her to this nice, expensive restaurant. We found an Italian restaurant that was amazing. We sat down. Well, we walked to it. And
it was awful.
It was terrible.
So bad.
I got, of course, the redneckest meal you can have.
We're looking for lasagnas and spaghetti, and they don't have that.
And I got this Parmesan thing. That it was so bad. You guys just get a hamburger and fries. I don't know. I just don't have the palate of a rich person.
Okay, tell them the best part of this story.
And so we're exhausted. We're kind of upset that dinner was like this, and we hail a cab, and we get in. And we're just like, oh, we're so tired.
This lovely
Take
man.
us to, I don't even remember the Capitol Hilton.
Yeah.
And he's like, well.
He goes,
it's right there.
Are you messing with me? It's right there.
And he points out the back window, and it's across the street. And we were so tired.
We had him
drive around the block to drop us off across the street. Now.
It was like $20.
Mm-hmm. So that was our first summit. It was amazing. Every single thing that possibly could go wrong went wrong with our equipment.
Yeah.
Remember, we got to the hotel. They had no idea where my supplies were. So, again, when you do this stuff, make sure you have them. I have them take a picture of it. And I will have them count every box. And I will get their name. Make sure you write down their name. You write down where it's at. Because we got there and they were like, oh, we don't have it. And so I'm like, well, you have to have it. We need to do treatment. I'm like, well, we don't know where it is. We'll find out on Monday. And this is Friday night. I'm like, well, that's not going to work. And so I go back to the room. I tell Christina they've lost all the supplies. And I go walking around because I'm upset. And I find it off in a corner. I see all these boxes, so I go over and look at it. I'm like, oh my God, that's my name. So we found that stuff. Anyways, so Washington, D.C. was amazing. All
Yep.
right.
What's next?
We do lots of we've had a big year, and we're sorry we didn't do updates. So we had NANT. NANT was
so much
amazing.
fun.
It was in Vegas. We went with Scott and Amber, and we made a little vacation out of it. And
Amber
we met.
became the certified moose handler.
Mm-hmm.
She was a CMH.
And we met Sam and Lacye Trevino.
We did in person.
That was amazing. It will
So
go down
amazing.
as one of the best conferences. And what's really cool is we have been invited back again.
Yay!
And this time, so for this conference, we did the pre-conference.
Yeah.
And it was a little 30-minute thing where we tell our story. And, we were on cloud nine.
Yeah.
We had 2 couples come and meet us.
Oh, that was so cool.
Mm-hmm. And it was Alan Borden and his wife and Nancy Ford. She's the one that had the RV. And They met us when we were doing the pre-conference. And
That was really cool.
it was amazing.
Yeah.
So, and we've actually been invited back to be actually part of the conference. And we will be a panelist with Sam and Lacye.
So
which
cool.
is amazing.
But you have to tell them about the last night.
Oh, the last night. I will tell you, these techs, because by this time I went and bought some nice shirts, I bought some slacks, I've accepted the fact that I need to kind of dress up for these. And this party that they have, and Sam kind of preps us, and I'm like, how?
Well, he said something about, like, I can't wait to see your costume. And I was like,
Costume?
What? Costume?
Yeah.
I did not hear costumes.
Oh, and we actually came a little bit early because I got Christina RuPaul tickets.
Yes.
And
so cool. RuPaul, give me a call sometime.
Yeah, and it was so busy because Taylor Swift was there at the same time.
Yes.
So you got these preteens with their moms
And
that
sparkles
everywhere. So you got these moms that are pulling their kids along with them, and they are just fandoming everywhere. So we saw RuPaul. That was an experience. Christina, she loves it. So
amazing.
It was
Loved
fun.
It.
And so the last day, so during the NANT conference, it is the National Association of Technicians. I'm butchering it, but it's a bunch of nephrology technicians. So it's a bunch of nurses and
No, techs.
Oh, techs. I'm sorry. And what was her name when you first met her? It was one of Christina's first fandom moments, but I can't remember her name. I'm so sorry. I talk to you all the time, but she just busts into tears. And she just says, I just want to hug you. And she hugs Christina, and she's and Christina is getting recognized quite a bit at this conference. And she's like, is this for real? I'm like, honey, I told you. And so
Keep going.
and
so
it is a professional atmosphere. Every meeting you'll see your suits and all this stuff. Well, we get to this party, and I will tell you what.
Oh, but wait. First, I heard Sam say costume. So I don't miss a challenge, and I want to be prepared just in case. So me and Amber, we ran to the nearest party shop, and we bought costumes.
Yep, and so you'll have to get on the page or look at the videos, but she has hot red hair, hot pink hair, and I have a blue boa with this blue hat.
And Amber was all green.
And they had this freaking party that would put any party I think I've been to shame. These techs can get down.
Yeah. Oh, they got down.
Sam and Lacye, they're in
70s outfits.
70s outfit. So you got Sam. He's got this big giant hair.
Afro.
Lacye.
She looked incredible.
It really did. And they have this dance contest. And Christina do you want to tell them your dance moves?
Well, what I call it?
Yeah.
My white girl panic.
Yep. So, and it's exactly what you think it is, but she looks hot.
It really is.
Yeah, she looks hot doing it.
And I'm just going to embrace it. I just have to embrace it.
And Amber won the dance contest.
She did.
And Christina gets the mic, and do you want to tell him?
Yeah, so at the end, I got the mic, and I wanted to let all the techs in that room just know how important home dialysis is to their patients and is to us. And so I got on the mic, and I told them, hey, my name is Christina Gilchrist. I have my next stage dialysis machine upstairs, and I'm a dialysis patient. And the reason I was able to dance all night long with every single one of you is because I do home dialysis. I feel well enough to come out here and do what everyone else does, which is everything.
And they were floored because they all thought that she was a tech at this time. They could not believe that a dialysis patient was able to do all of that stuff. And
it was funny because the host, he actually pulled me aside and he's like, you should have told me who you were earlier. I would have had you win the dance off.
Yep.
And I'm like, no, that's
Brad,
silly.
That was his name. Brad was the host.
He's
awesome. We get to meet him again.
Yes,
but
amazing.
The next day, we had Sam and Lacye's panel where we went to watch. And they referenced the party. And they pretty much... anywhere that I went,
had been.
I shedded these blue feathers. So everybody was just like, oh, Mike was there. Oh, Mike was there. Mike was there.
I'm wearing Mike.
Yep. And it was amazing. I am kind of a keep to myself kind of guy, but this was a blast. The person that you guys see on the reels and the videos, I really push myself to be out there. And with these people,
You're just out there.
I'm able to just be me. And it's fun because I'm a really self-conscious guy. I talk weird. But with these guys, I'm one of them. The NANT conference, if you're a technician, tell your clinic you want to go to NANT. And I'm hoping we get to go every single year. And so, all right. So NANT, that was cool. We also started doing some lobby days. We did some Idaho ones. That one was really cool because we were down in Idaho. We were in the back room doing a lunch and learn with the nurses. And one of the secretaries comes back and goes, Michael, you want it up front? And I'm like, what? And I'm looking around the room like, okay, is there another Michael? And like, no, you. I'm like, what? And we had a patient that drove out and met us, and his name was Mike Rasmussen. He was really cool. He brought his girlfriend with him.
Oh, she was so great.
So that was awesome. And some other things that we did, we're trying to wrap up a little bit. We met Jennifer and Eric Homan.
Yes.
Yep. Amazing. They are just an amazing couple, and Eric, he's a badass. So these guys are motorcycle riders, and we were able to meet up on their way to vacation. That was cool. August, we went to Boston.
We did. We went to Boston.
And that was just amazing. We met Don and Jimmy Bates.
We did.
We met Ivan and his wife.
Rashonda.
Shamika. Pedro. Marcelo. And
just so many people. We could not even.
Kasha, Caitlin, and Vanessa. And I'll tell you, Vanessa.
Oh my gosh.
You go to these meetings and you do these conferences, and Vanessa hosts them all the time.
She's so powerful and strong.
You picture this giant. Yeah. And every time she talks, I almost picture my dad yelling at me because she's just got this powerful, powerful voice.
Yes, she does.
And I remember meeting her.
She's so little.
She's little. She's like pocket size. I look at her, I'm like, oh my God, I can pick you up. But
it's so amazing.
All of these people, you've got a bunch of care partners, you've got a bunch of just patients, and it was amazing meeting, again, all of these people that have become family. And I remember you got up and you said something. What was it?
Well, I said, they say the average lifespan, I'm not sure if it is now, but they used to say the average lifespan on dialysis is 7 years. So I told everybody in the room who had been on dialysis longer than 7 years, stand up. And we all stood up, and I just told them, hey, all of us are still alive because of next stage. We're still alive because of home dialysis. If we had been in center, we only had 7 years.
Yeah. Pedro's another one.
And it was almost all of us. I said Pedro.
Okay. And so that was just one of the best experiences that...
Oh, it was so great. We met AJ. Like, I could go on for hours. All these incredible, incredible people.
Some people that have become family. And it was cool. They had a dinner thing. They had a dinner thing where...
Don Evans.
Don Evans.
Oh my gosh, I could just keep going.
We really could. And
they had a dinner.
And of course, I had to show up in the dinosaur outfit. So everybody kind of dressed up for that. That was cool. It was pajamas, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. And so I had to wear the dinosaur outfit.
Of course
and so that was really cool.
That was amazing.
Like I said, we met some people that we have seen as our heroes and idols. And I
think sometimes when you're so young and you're put on dialysis, you tend to kind of really underestimate how long you can do dialysis. And when I met Dawn Edwards, I was just floored when she told me how long she had been on dialysis. And it was in the late 30s, like 30-something, 38, 39 years.
Yeah. Pedro's up there in the 30 years.
40. He's in 40s.
Is he 40?
And, like, these people, like, there's so much hope to see these amazing, incredible people that have paved the way for us. And how long they've been doing that. And just, it's powerful just to be around them.
Yeah, and I got to meet one of my idols, Don.
Yep.
Don Bates. And
you guys were two peas in a pod.
We were. And it's just one of those things where we had, when we met each other, we just started hugging each other because we have this thing in common where we are just doing what's best for our loved one to make them thrive. And it was just amazing meeting both of them. Jimmy, he's just a quiet guy, but he's the same. He talks, and you just listen to him.
He's a powerhouse.
And that was the way all of these people were. Every single one that we met was just these people that we idolize, that we've only talked to on the phone or in Zoom.
That if they called tomorrow and said, "Hey, I need help," we'd be there.
Exactly. And so,
anyways,
Boston was awesome.
Boston was awesome.
When did that?
Philly.
Well, nope. Hold on. We actually moved. We went to Washington, moved my daughter back. That one was an experience. We flew down there. The airline actually lost a piece of our dialysis machine.
They did.
So we weren't able to do dialysis. So instead of staying an extra day, we
went back early.
We loaded the truck and we drove my daughter back here because we are going to be what?
Grandparents.
Yep. Sometime in February, early March, I'm thinking February, we are going to have a grandbaby.
Yes,
and
we are.
Do you want to tell them what your grandma name is going to be?
Grandma.
Okay. And mine is going to be Grumpy Gramps.
So my theory is I know a lady, they call her Grandma Sweetheart. And I'm going to try to do what she did. They call her Grandma Sweetheart because when they were little kids, she would always say, "Come to Grandma Sweetheart. Come to Grandma Sweetheart." And so they all thought her name was Grandma Sweetheart. So it just stuck. So I'm going to go for something like that. I just haven't decided yet exactly if it's Sweetheart or Honey or what.
So we have Mercedes living here with her boyfriend,
Christina,
Wyatt.
Here's your reminder from Michael.
We have a reminder. Oh. Okay, you guys got to listen to this. Hold on.
Here is your reminder from Michael. Take her medicine and shake boobies thinking of Mike.
That is a reminder to take her pills. So...
I'm going to take my pills.
Of course, I want her to shake her boobies too. So, anyways.
My gosh, Michael.
All right. So, that was awesome. We then went to California, and we saw the Winchester House. And we did an event, and we did our first RV event.
We did.
So, Christina did dialysis in an RV. We talked to a ton of doctors. We met, what was her name, Tracy?
Yep.
Terry, sorry. She's in charge of California. Hawaii.
Yep. She's an area manager.
She's just amazing. Caitlin was there.
Oh my gosh, it was so nice.
Locke was there.
And then also Richard?
Yeah, Richard. There we go.
Richard was there, and so was Martine.
Yep. And we were, and Martine actually went and did the Winchester House with us. And if you can go see the Winchester House,
go do it.
It is
so
amazing.
Cool.
The steps. The steps is what I remember. Each step was an inch high because she got old and had arthritis. So she couldn't step. So she made these steps in place of the other.
And it just zigzagged back and forth. It was insane.
If you don't know what the Winchester House, look it up and watch a documentary on it. It's amazing.
It is.
And being able to be there and see the house was even more. So we did that.
Yep.
ASN. Philly.
ASN, we went to Philly.
What was the best thing about Philly?
Oh, everything.
There was one in particular.
Well, was there? I can't think of anything like big or like.
Really?
Okay, that was wicked.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it was pretty amazing.
we found out that we were going to go to the ASN conference. And
Mike is incredible, and I tell you what, I'm just never, ever going to deserve him.
So I surprised her with Wicked tickets.
Wicked.
And
the musical, Broadway, Wicked,
was,
that I've wanted to see my entire life.
Yep, it was opening day, and I'm trying to get to the place without her knowing. I'm going to surprise her when we walk up, and there are Wicked advertisements everywhere.
Giant windows. Like, giant enough, I saw them everywhere.
Yeah, and she sees one, she's like, oh my gosh, is that Wicked? I'm like, yeah, I think they're coming out with a movie or something. It's like,
and I'm like,
okay.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
So we keep walking, and there's more signs and more signs and more signs. And then we pull up to the building, and it's lit up green. And she's like,
are we going to Wicked, Michael?
So I surprise her, tell her we got pretty much close to front row tickets.
Oh, it was so close.
It was an amazing, if you can go see Wicked, go see it.
Oh my gosh, I already want to go again.
Really cool thing is during one of the scenes, the fire alarm went off.
It was when Elphaba was having like her freak out moment, and there was fog and everything.
There was fog, there's flashing lights. So then there's flashing lights, and then you see these other flashing lights. And you're like, huh, well, that's pretty cool. And then you hear everybody exit the building.
This is not a drill.
So that we all had to get up. We went outside the building. We hung out there for about, half an hour?
45 minutes? An hour.
And we were almost going to go home.
The whole fire department came, the police, everything.
And we were lucky enough to go back in. It was the coolest thing because there were a lot of people that went home, so we actually got better seats.
Yeah.
And they started off exactly where they left off.
Exactly. It was so phenomenal.
It was cool.
And they honestly, like, we were even saying how a bunch of people probably went and complained and got their money back. And, like, there was no way we could have done that because they put on a show. That end half, they just laid it out there. We have actually one of those digital picture frames, and it just showed the video of where we were watching Wicked. So if you haven't seen it, go see it. So that was ASN. And keep in mind, we had our Philly cheesesteak, and there were life-size posters of Christina everywhere. Oh, no, there really was. Every turn that we did, there was another picture of Christina and Moose. And Moose, I think, is more famous than us. We are walking around. We are not famous. Oh, my gosh. People are walking and just yelling Moose, Moose, Moose. And it was amazing. We, again, met some absolutely amazing people there. So many. Just learned so many new things. And just, it's so amazing when you can actually sit and talk to a nephrologist and just see in their eyes why they do this. Mm-hmm. And ASN, it was incredible. ASN, they have nephrologists all over the country. So, I mean, we met from the world. Yeah. So they said like 40% of the people there were from other countries. We met one doctor from Germany. I mean, just every single turn was just another doctor and another story. And we were actually able to go talk to nephrologists that are barely starting. And we were actually able to tell them why it is so important what they're doing.
And
Yeah.
I remember we were talking to him a lot about
Home dialysis.
home dialysis. Don't prejudge your patients.
And empower your patients.
Empower them. Let them go home. And I remember always telling them, okay, so we have these patients, and they drive, they vote, they are 100% part of the community, but yet we're holding them back on this one thing, all because we're prejudging them. And I hope we influenced a lot of people to go home, because one of the big questions you ask is, if you had to do dialysis, which one would you do?
And not one of them said that they would go in center.
Nope, it's always home.
Yep.
So home is the way to go. It's also really cool seeing all the new technology that's coming out, and it's some cool stuff.
Yeah, the future is good.
The future's hopeful.
Yes.
And so hey guys, we became ambassadors for National Kidney Fund, and we did their DC summit. It was a virtual one, so it was just on the phone. But again, we talked to our Congress members, Mike Lee, Romney, Blake Moore, I'm forgetting some other ones, but basically it was the Utah representatives, and we were actually fighting to get better access for donated organs when they're being flown somewhere. They're being lost in luggage and being left on planes. So we just basically want to make sure that that's not happening. So, and they're going to have a actual summit in person this next year, and I'm pretty sure we're going to go. Okay, so apparently we're long-winded, and we talked 20 minutes after this, and it didn't even record it?
Yep.
So you're going to get even a better version than what we just did.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. So, after ASN, we went to Washington, DC again for dialysis patients, DPC
Actually, didn't we go before
citizens.
ASN?
Probably. But we
Yeah.
went to Washington again, which was really cool. It kind of sucked because there was a COVID outbreak, so we actually...
Did not go to our meetings.
Yeah, the summit got canceled the day that we were supposed to go do it, and it kind of sucked, but it was kind of cool because we got to explore Washington,
Yeah.
D.C.
So what did we do?
all day long. We went to the Air and Space Museum. We did the gardens.
Arlington
We did the
Cemetery?
Arlington Cemetery, which, if you can go do it, oh my gosh, that is... It's extremely humbling, and
It is.
I mean, it's just so
It's
many
shocking.
graves.
It's shocking.
And then what about the botanical gardens?
That was phenomenal too. It's close to the Capitol, right?
Yep, it's right next to the Capitol.
Just gorgeous.
And I guess all the first ladies do a different
Something to go
section.
in there, yeah.
So there's a desert section. I mean, it's pretty much every single
yeah.
area in the United States is in this building.
And each little room has their own ecosystem, kind of like the temperature's different for each one. It's really cool.
And we stayed at the Sonesta,
Ooh.
a hotel that just barely opened like a week before we got there.
It was amazing.
It really was, and we met some amazing people.
Yes.
And I'm not even going to go into names because I don't want to offend anybody and not say their name, because
there were so many.
Each one is just phenomenal, and there's a story behind each one. But there's one in particular. Her name is Julie.
Yep.
And her story is just absolutely amazing. She is one of the strongest chicks I think I've ever met. But she didn't know anything really about home dialysis.
At least home hemo dialysis.
Yeah. And so we were like, oh my God, the machine's down in our room right now. And so we took her down there. We were able to show her the machine, show how it's set up, show how we start dialysis, all this stuff. It was really cool because I kind of, when she was seeing that for the first time, it was almost like we were seeing it for the first time with Sam Trevino. And she is starting the process of And I think she's actually even started the process of home therapy training and all that stuff. And if
She's gonna do amazing.
Yeah, and if she didn't meet us, she wouldn't have known about this. And that's what really sucks with all these people that we meet. They have no idea what this home dialysis program is and stuff. Yep. So if you're a tech, tell your patients about every single form and modality, because they deserve to know. And so after that, well, I guess we should talk about your little heart episode. And so we are going back to January, because we totally forgot to tell you that, during all this stomach crap, there was this doctor. And, okay, if you guys don't know Christina's mom, she worries quite a bit.
A lot.
A ton.
Yeah.
A god-awful amount.
She worries.
And she's sitting there with me, and, we're concerned about Christina, and she's about to go in for surgery.
No, I just gotten out.
Was it you were out, or you're going in again?
No, I
this was your first one. I believe this was your first one, because you were going back again. Because they wanted to do it during your surgery.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
okay,
so
go.
this doctor that I have never seen before comes running in the room, and the most panicked I have ever seen a doctor. Oh my God, we gotta do open-heart surgery, we have to do it right now. And he leaves.
Just this frantic man.
And I'm like, what the hell was that?
So I get woken up, and my mom is frantic. Mike is frantic.
I'm frantic, but I'm more frantic on the, we're not doing surgery. We're not doing this. We're not doing it right now. We're dealing with this problem right now, and then we'll handle that. So I'm trying to calm everybody down, and I'm like, because I'm trying to calm Christina down, because she just had this doctor come in, say that she's going to die if she doesn't have the surgery and stuff. And then I'm trying to deal with Robin at the same time, and luckily Zink was in the building.
He's the heart surgeon.
Yeah, he's the heart surgeon. I'm like, listen, let's calm down. Let's get Zink in here, because he's gonna be the one doing the surgery. So let's see what he says first. And luckily we did, because he came in and he's like, oh no, we're not gonna do this right now. And so we were able to calm everybody down. You can never calm Robin down, but we were able to settle a few things. But basically Zink said, we're just gonna track what's going on, and we'll take it month by month. Yep. So months and months go by.
What they were saying, though, we ended up finding out that what the problem was is I had a leaky valve. My aortic valves had gotten a hole in it, and so every time my heart was pushing the blood through, there was blood leaking back.
Yeah, so she wasn't getting a full blood pump. So her blood pressures were tanking. And if there's one thing I'll say, that if you have things that need to be addressed, it isn't just an everyday thing. You need to make sure you talk to your team about it, because we went way too long.
Yeah.
And it's because Christine is a superhero. She just handles stuff. And so
you just learn to.
You're right. And so I remember it got to the point where, okay, this needs to happen. And you were getting...
we knew going to ASN that we would be coming home and
attacking this thing.
Very shortly getting this fixed.
Yeah. We had kind of in our mind that over Christmas and Thanksgiving we would be doing this surgery. So we were kind of prepped for it, and we kind of moved our schedule around to where, okay, this is an open spot where this is a great time to heal.
Yeah.
So
we did an angiogram, and that day my blood pressure was it was a bit shocking.
Yeah, it was extremely shocking. It was down in the 60s over 30s. And
every young kid that works at the hospital that came in, I think we gave them a heart attack.
Yeah, because they would go grab they would almost do a code red. Like, no, we can't. I'm like, listen, this is her normal.
For now.
it's not fine, but it's fine. We can handle this number, especially when it got up to the high 70s, mid 70s. I'm like, hey, that's a great number. So,
Yeah.
which it's not. Have it addressed, because there could have been some really bad things that happened at home.
And we got the green light with the angiogram, so it was time to meet with the surgeon.
Yep, and I remember we went in on Monday. We had a nice little appointment. He was like, hey, okay, so when do you want? Yeah, he's like, so we need to do this. And she looks at Christina and goes, what are you doing Thursday? And I'm like,
getting
no,
heart surgery.
This was a Tuesday, because we had one day to do all the stuff.
Yes.
So Christina had to do all of these tests, and the one thing that I'll say is we weren't prepped totally for what this surgery was going to be.
Yeah, so the day before surgery, I started getting all these phone calls that apparently I had all these different tests I had to go and get done. I had all these prescriptions called in. I had some wipes that I had to use every night after I showered.
I gotta wipe my wife down all over her body every single day.
True story.
But it was kind of cool, because you had to get these wipes, and there were specific areas where you used the wipe, flipped it over, did the wipe, and it was all for prevention of infection.
They gave us some ointment that I was to put in my nose and rub around inside my nose. And then I also got some mouthwash.
Yep.
And so we kind of started thinking, okay, this might be a little more than we thought. So I went with my mom the day before surgery to go do all these tests, and they've got us running around the hospital, and they actually have us set up to where one appointment goes to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other. So all day we're going from one to the next, to the next, to the next. And our last one that day was scheduled for 4:30, and it was the surgery education. And so we go and we meet. We go and we meet up with this young kid. He's all jolly and happy, and he says, well, how much of the surgery do you want to know about? And I was like, well, I want to know about all of it, And so he starts saying tell him about what the surgeon said about the incision first.
Well, he said it's just going to be this little tiny incision, that it's going to be, basically just on the side of the chest. It might be 1 inch, and it'll be in and out. If worst case scenario, it'll be 3 inches.
Yeah. And so I sit down with this kid, and he starts saying, well, you're going to have an incision that goes all the way down your chest, and we'll drill your sternum in half.
Yeah, we'll hacksaw your sternum in half and rip it open. Yeah. And if there's one thing you don't want to do, is give absolute worst case scenario with Christina's mom. She's amazing. She worries.
She's a worrier.
And Robin, you can't say you don't. So, but she worries quite a bit. And
she loves me.
Absolutely. And so, you want to tell them you got a delivery?
So, and during that meeting, it's funny because all of a sudden Mike comes running in, hands me this huge candle. When I say huge, I mean huge candle, and a bag of treats, and says, I love you, I gotta go.
So I'm prepping for having time off for this surgery. So I actually was in a meeting at that time while I was dropping stuff off to Christina, and I wish I would have actually stuck around a little bit longer, because I could have listened to worst case scenario and be a little bit more prepped for it.
Yeah.
Because I thought Christina was exaggerating, because I'm like, no, the surgeon said it would be this little tiny thing. And she's like, no, this other guy. I'm like, well, I think the surgeon would know. But in the surgeon's defense, he planned on doing that.
Yes.
Until he saw her heart. So, but that will happen in just a second. Do you want to tell them a little bit about how you got the infection and some pointers that we got?
Yeah, so they're saying that basically there's 2 ways I could have had this leaky valve happen. So it could have been I had a graft that got infected, and it's actually really sad because I have been home for home on dialysis for 5 years, and I've never had an infection. I'm knocking on something just in case. But I did have to go back in center while we changed my PD catheter and changed it and ended up starting home hemo. Well, during that time I got a graft and my graft got infected. And it was an interesting infection because it was like a bump, but it looked like a blood blister. And so the doctors kept saying, like, don't mess with it because who knows what's under it. And I'm like, well, if who knows what's under it, like, we should find out what's under it.
Yeah, I don't think they took it as serious as they should have on that one.
They didn't.
They kept throwing antibiotics at her.
Yep.
And this was well, you could actually feel it. And it could have popped any minute.
Well, it did. Before we ended up going to the ER one day, it just kind of blew and blood came out first, but then just so much infection.
Yep. And so what did they tell you about going to the dentist?
So it was either from that infection or we found out that, which this to me is just shocking, and again, why we started this group. Every single patient that's listening right now, please, like, if you listen to anything, listen to this. We found out that as a kidney patient, you should be on antibiotics anytime you go to the dentist. Whether it's for a cleaning, to get cavities, whatever, you should be on antibiotics 2 days before and 2 days after. Apparently, while they're in there cleaning our teeth, they get all these germs moving around, and it can go into your bloodstream, and it can send an oral infection straight to your heart. And that's what ended up happening with me. Either it went through the graft or it went through me getting my teeth cleaned
And
4 months prior to this.
When we were told this, I mean, it's just one of those jaw-dropping moments of, I mean, we've been doing this. Christina's been doing this for 20 years now, and I've been doing it for 5. And this is the first time we've ever heard this.
But keep in mind, I didn't even hear that from the doctor. They didn't say anything about the antibiotic. I called and talked to Vanessa, and Vanessa's the one who let me know. And it's just crazy how we have to learn these things after the problem is there.
Yep, and what floors me too is, in order to get a transplant, you have to get your teeth checked. So you're already at a vulnerable state because you need a transplant. Anybody that is required to go to the dentist to have a procedure done needs to talk to that doctor and say, should I be on antibiotics? Because you're getting your teeth checked for a reason. Because there's so many germs in your mouth that they want to make sure that that germ isn't going to take over your entire body after surgery.
Yeah.
So,
so it's super important.
Yeah, and it that's why I started the group, was so all of this could have been prevented, maybe, by taking 2 pills.
Yeah.
Beforehand.
So we ended up going in for surgery.
Yes. Well, you had your graft taken out, and that's how we actually got introduced to Dr. Zink. Dr. Paula, the amazing vascular surgeon, called Paula in and was like,
we went to the ER, and Par was already in surgery. And so Par called Dr. Zink and said, hey, any way you could come and do this surgery for me.
Yes.
So I had a heart surgeon take out my graft. How cool is that?
And it's kind of cool because I kind of see the conversation of Paula taking a break while he's slicing someone open. Hey, Zink, what you doing? Can you do me a solid?
Because they're like best friends. So, hey, buddy, can you go and get this taken care of for me?
He's like, yeah, I think I can. Well, what are you doing right now? You know, and he just kind of showed up. He's like, okay, well, we're taking this out.
He did a phenomenal job. And actually, to the point where after our follow-up, what did I say to you?
You kind of joked and said, I kind of want him as my doctor.
I said, I kind of wish I had a heart problem so I could keep him.
And I remember saying, what the hell are you saying that for?
I know. And what the hell was I saying that for?
Anyways, so we ended up having the surgery, and it ends up being
the full
thing, open heart surgery. And there is a thing called I'm butchering the hell out of it, but it's pericarditis. And basically what that is when he was in putting the cow valve, she's a cowgirl now.
Yep.
And the cool thing is he put in an extra big valve because if he needs to do this again, he can actually do it really easy. He can do it through the groin. He said he'll be.
He'll just pop a new one onto the old one.
Yeah. So
Crazy.
if you all having heart surgery, valve replacement, mention that. Say, hey, can I get a bigger one? Because if we need to go in again. Anyways, so pericarditis is, as he was in putting this valve in, he saw the lining of the heart. And if you don't know, your heart is encased in this fluid, and it's kind of like the same thing as your around your brain. You have some fluid around your brain, and it's for shock
Like
absorbing.
absorption.
So it's kind of like an airbag for your heart, airbag for your head, same thing. Well, if you don't do dialysis
Soon enough?
the fluid inside of your body becomes extremely toxic. And
It ends up calcifying that sac that's around your heart.
right, so there's this fluid around the heart. It got all infected, and it heals itself by putting
Calcifying.
itself into a little cocoon. So basically the heart surgeon Zinc had to go in and peel a heart like potato. And you kind of say it like what?
Like an eggshell.
Yeah. So he peeled it like an egg, hard boiled egg. And so he's telling us all of this and that.
And I have a really cool picture of my heart in his hand.
Mhm.
With the hole in my heart.
Yep. So you come out of and during this, we were actually so close to me being able to do home therapy, dialysis in the hospital. I had everybody on board.
Yep.
I had the machine in my car while she was doing surgery because they needed to check the power outlet and make sure it wasn't gonna, trip breakers in the hospital. We had it 1,000,000% ready to go. We were excited, and unfortunately, Zinc is the one that said absolutely not.
Yep.
And I gave him my card, and I hope he went and looked at it because hopefully it opens your eyes of what home therapy. But Zinc is amazing. Zinc is absolutely amazing.
Top notch.
He is the best doctor I think I've ever met.
If you are in Utah area and you need a heart surgeon, go to Ogden Regional. He's one of those doctors. When you've had a lot of doctors, you know when you find a good one. And Zinc is phenomenal.
And I don't think the guy ever goes home because
I don't think so either.
Every time I turned around, he was right there.
At least we're talking like 5-6 times a day. He's in there talking to me.
Yep.
And he was amazing.
And it was cool because he was able to adjust dialysis. He was able to get with our nephrologist, and we were able to do
sled.
Yeah, do sled, which is a slow,
low
efficiency dialysis.
Yeah.
And it's basically nocturnal, which is what she has. So
which I felt great doing that.
We had a few little issues that if it was all machine, I could have handled no problem. Yeah. She ended up having to have some transfusions and stuff. But anyways, they accommodated us quite well. But she comes out of surgery, and you had a breathing tube in.
Yes.
And we had to try to keep Christina occupied because we both know what happens when Christina gets upset. She starts ripping out tubes. So
you don't mess with my throat and my nose.
Yeah, and she's waking up from anesthesia. She had her sternum hacksawed in half. It's held together by wires. And so you can imagine the amount of pain that she's in. So our job was basically just joke with her and keep her mind occupied to where she would concentrate on breathing because the better she would breathe, the quicker she would get in and out of, she would get that tube taken out. So the tube gets taken out, and this is the kind of person that Christina is she can tell I'm tired. I mean, it's been a long day, and she looks at me and she's like, how are you doing? And I'm like, what the hell? But you just had open heart surgery. How am I doing? And it's just how we joke, but that's who Christina is she just had her heart taken out of her body, peeled like a potato, basically, and she's worried about me. So, which is great because
I had good meds.
Yeah, and damn it, they should be worried about me. That was a lot of sitting in that chair.
And that there, guys, is Michael.
Yeah. And if you've seen those chairs in the waiting room, come on, put some love seats in there.
I know, like Lovesac. Donate your seats. Like, come on.
Anyways, okay, so she healed from this amazing. She was in the ICU for 5 days?
Yeah.
And even every nurse and doctor that came in, they were floored by how she was healing. And you would have never, after a week of her getting up, walking around, we were able to bring Moose in a couple times.
Oh, we did. It was so awesome.
And Christina heals phenomenally. And so we are still in the process of her healing.
Yeah.
She is supposed to be doing her breathing exercises every day.
I'm breathing great. I'm actually 4 weeks as of yesterday out from surgery. Already started physical therapy.
Yeah, but we kind of skip a couple machines that you should be doing. Christina.
No, I don't.
Okay, she doesn't. Yes, she does. But she should do it more. But she's doing absolutely phenomenal. And so, that was all you. How did yours go? Are we done?
Sure, I guess.
Okay, well then I guess peace out.
Oh, you're saying, oh, we're done.
Yeah, I think we're done. Are we done?
Hey guys, Happy New Year.
Yep, Happy New Year.
Best wishes
We
and
will
help for
do
this
this
next year for everyone.
We will do this at least once a month, and we're going to do mini episodes where we actually interview someone, and
So
that will be...
if you want to share your story, let us know. We think everybody should have a right to get their story out there.
Yep.
And
even if it's a brand new story and it's a 5-minute story, we want to hear it. We will do your own episode of 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I don't care how long it is, because those deserve its own attention. So there's tons of people that have already signed up. If you want to tell your story, reach out to us. And I guess the final thing is peace out.
yeah, I thought it was really weird you were hanging up and saying goodbye like that without me.
What?
Just a minute ago. I'm really glad I got to say goodbye too. Bye, guys.
And peace out.
Bye.
Something also that happened that was really cool, and it actually just happened the other day, was we decorate my sister's tree for Christmas. And that's our Christmas party. We all made her tree. We put a whole bunch of Christmas ornaments on it, put some lights, and I posted on the area groups that, hey, if you pass by this tree, throw an ornament on it, take a picture, show me. And the news got a hold of it. So Fox 13 came out. They did a story on me and Christina, and basically just us walking out to where her tree is. It's on the Ogden Path, so you have to go in between Botanical Gardens and the underpass. But just kind of telling the story of Rebecca and how, since Rebecca donated organs, it all came around where Christina needs them and has gotten donated organs. So it was really cool just being able to show that aspect of it, and tell people, hey, if you're bored, let's decorate the hell out of this tree every year. And more ornaments are getting put on. But if you live in Utah, get on Fox 13 and look up Blind Chick Living or Christina Gilchrist or my name, and you should be able to see the story. I'm not sure how long it'll be on there, but Christina looks sexy as hell, and well, I look like me, but I'm really cool. So, yeah, I think that's it. Peace out, guys. We also had the tragic death of a woman named Katie Scott. This lady was amazing. She was happy, joyful, and she was doing dialysis. But she had a young 5-year-old girl and a 10-year-old boy. And if you're familiar with the page, Scott Ricks is a very, very active participant on that page, trying to find better ways to do things. And we were able to meet up with them and do dinner. And when Scott gave me the call saying that it happened, as a care partner, and my wife is doing dialysis right now. Christina's hooked up, and we got up and talked to a couple people there that we are taking their lives into our hands numerous times a week. And I know it becomes the everyday norm, but we need to try not to let it do that, because
it is still happening. You know, a machine is sucking the blood out of her right now. Anything could happen. And I think so. And I don't have the whole story yet. We're going to meet up for lunch sometime and sit down and catch up. But I believe she died during treatment, and Scott was there administering it. So that just petrifies the hell out of me. Scott's tough as hell, so he can do this. But I've invited him to go to the movies with us or go to dinner. You know, anytime he's feeling lonely, to come out, hang out, light some ATVs, do whatever he wants. But we lost an amazing, amazing woman this month.